Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to the Econobox garage. Come on in. Well, it's been a few days since I put the paint on, so it's had a really good, it's had a good chance to dry, and I just didn't want to risk doing any damage to it while moving things around. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the paint booth down and get things organized again. I'm going to flip the tub around again so that the engine compartment's facing into the middle of the garage. And I'm going to take it off the dollies and just put it on jack stands so the car is a little lower. I don't really need to move it around an awful lot. I'll just make it easier getting in and out of the car, doing the panels, putting carpet in and all that kind of stuff. And speaking of carpet, there's a piece of the carpet that's going in. That's it's just sitting there. It's not glued in at all. So I think that's going to look quite nice. The dash is going to be that color along with the seats. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there. So let's get this poly down and then get back to reorganizing the garage. Well, I have all the poly down and the garage suddenly looks an awful lot bigger. So next up, we'll just get things reorganized. I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put the doors. I'm going to set them aside. I'm not going to put them on the car for a while. I'll probably get a blanket or something, wrap them up, and then stick them up up top there with the hard top. Okay, I've got the doors put up top here, and I've got the bonnet up on end. I just put some new cloths and some pool noodles to support that. You can see that from this side. Now I'm just ready to flip the tub around so that the engine compartment is over here, and so I can start doing work. So let's get that done, and then we'll move on to something else. In an earlier video, I reinstalled the back axle, but I wasn't able to get the check strap mounted up into its hole here. But since I've got it up on the jack stands and on the axle is supporting the weight of the car, it's settled down a bit. It's allowed me to get the bolt through the check strap. So I'm going to go through and tighten up the bolts I left loose before. And so it's this one here. I'll tighten this one up here for the check strap. One on the bottom of the dog bone for the shock absorber link, and the one that holds the spring on here. So I'll get those tightened up on both sides of the car, and then that's another item checked off the list. Well, it's been very exciting to get the paint on the car. So one of the first things I'm going to do is get seatbelts installed. Now I got the kit from Moss Motors, and it's their 3-point hook type, catalog number 222-212, and it comes complete with the belt set and some hardware. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be mounting these hooks, or these eyes, in the corners, one here and one here, and then the shoulder strap bracket will mount up on top of the wheel arch and then just a little bit behind. Now I am a little concerned that these these eye bolts are a little long, but those can easily be cut off so they don't stick down too far, but I'll figure that out once I've got the holes drilled and what have you. It comes with washers as well, and there's 2 little cotter pins for which I'm not sure exactly what that's for, because there's no holes or anything in any of these bolts. So there's the 2 eye bolts for the lap section, and another bolt that will attach the shoulder strap bracket. So the first order of business is to locate the holes. So once I've got the seat belts in, I'll get the wiring harness run to the back. Now I've marked the location for the holes by laying a washer in the corner, drawing a circle, and just center punching, and done the same on both sides. So I'm going to use a step drill. So once I get these holes drilled, I'm going to drill them into as small a hole as possible to get this through. I don't want a lot of free play. And then to me, these washers don't appear that thick, so I might just upgrade those to something a little thicker. But I'll decide that a little bit later on here. So let's get the drill. I'm going to use my step drill to get that to the right size. Okay, I'm first going to drill I'm going to drill a pilot hole with a regular drill bit. I have 2 of these Christmas tree bits or taper bits. I'm going to use the smaller one, and I've checked it out, and I need to go to the second, or the third or second ridge here. I'll stop at this one and check, see if I can get through there. If not, I'll go to the next one. And I know the last ridge on here is too big, so I know not to go that far. Yeah, the nice thing with these Christmas tree bits is they give a nice round hole. When you're using a regular bit, the larger holes can end up being triangular. So there we have both of those holes drilled. And well, here's the eye bolt. It's all tightened up. But as you can see, it goes a fair distance below the bottom of the sill. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure. I have my ruler here. I'm going to measure from the bottom of the nut down about 5 or 6 threads. And I can see I've got an inch sticking out there, so I can use that as a gauge. I'll cut these down. So I've got at least 5 or 6 threads showing. So that should get that bolt short enough that it's even with the bottom of the sill. I don't want to be driving along with this with the potential of catching on something. So I'll cut this one down and the other 3, and then we'll be good to go for all 4 of the seatbelt eye bolts. So here's the eye bolt for the seatbelts, and I've calculated I need to cut 3/4 of an inch off the end of this. That will put the bottom of the bolt pretty much at the bottom of the sill, and still leave me with about 5 or 6 threads outside the nut. One trick I learned a long time ago when you're cutting bolts or threaded rod or anything is to put a nut on past where you're going to cut. So I'm going to be cutting right about here somewhere, so that way I can use this as kind of a die when I go to run the bolt off. I should clean up any damaged threads on the cut end here. So I'll mark where I'm going to cut, get that done, unthread the nut, which will clean up the threads, and then we're good to go. Now you can see here that I've cut it. There's a little bit of an edge on it here, so I'm just going to get my file. I'm going to file around this, and then I'll spin the nut off to make sure we're clean. Actually, that might even just come off as it is. Yeah, that's actually not going to be a problem, but I'll leave that on there until after I've filed that down to make it a nice clean edge. So there we go. I've shortened the bolt down and it's barely below the bottom of the barrel now, so I like that much better and less likely to get caught on anything. It's about the same level as the bottom of the spring plate here. So what I'll do is I'll cut the other 4, get the holes drilled and get those all mounted in, and then I'll go up on the wheel arch. So to locate the hole for the shoulder strap bracket, I've gone to gerardsgarage.com and used his how to install seatbelts information, which is directly from the old BMC manual. And so it gives a dimension from the seam. Well, actually gives the dimensions from inside the car, but this is the equivalent here. So it gives a dimension from where this line is here. You can see this all the way down through here. And then also from the center line. So I've just estimated where that center line is up here, gone back to dimensions, and that's where my hole is going to be. Or it's a little bit over the arch towards the back. So that's how I figured out where to do that. So I'm going to drill that hole. Again, I'll center punch it, pilot hole, and then use the step bit to get the hole just to the right size. Well, there I have both sets of seat belts mounted. So I've got the eye bolts in on the passenger side and on the driver's side. Those are in place permanently, and I'll just slot the carpet around the bolt there. And for the one over the wheel arch, I'll put the carpet in and then bolt through that. So we'll put a hole in that carpet. It's a lot easier to do it that way. Then once everything's bolted down permanently, I'll go in from underneath and just spray the whole thing with some undercoat to help seal it up. Well, that's all I have time for this week. I'm glad you could join me. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to share it with your friends. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon. Click on that, you'll get notified when the next videos come out. My name is Ian. This is the Econobox Garage. We'll see you next time.